Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I should say. Gay and I are doing a program, and I'm just getting in position. Start this song. Will your anchor hold in the storms of life, when the clouds unfold their wings of strife? When the strong tides lift and the cables strain, will your anchor drift or firm remain? We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll, fastened to the rock that cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. It is safely moored, 'twill the storm withstand, for 'tis well secured by the Savior's hand. And the cables passed from his heart to mine can defy that blast through strength divine. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll, fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. When our eyes behold through the gathering night the city of gold, the harbor bright, we shall anchor fast by the heavenly shore, with the storms all past forevermore. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll, fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love.
Thank you. Canada is a very good country, and we have a long history of justice, of fair courts. Sometimes things didn't pan out as the way they should, and as perhaps as people thought they should. But never have we experienced a situation where for years, I don't know, the game has been going on about attacking the church for starting in the 40 years ago. And a major player is the Liberal Party of Canada, Justice Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau, and their Liberal Ladies' Aid to the political party, Federation of Sask Indians. The Federation of Sask Indians was not designed to give Indians a voice. It was designed to control the voice, not so that if one person or a handful of people speak for the Indians, and that's many, many people who cannot speak for themselves. And consistently, when you have a union, and unions are fair compared to this, that means that you have a whole lot of people, memberships, who haven't a say. And that people accept that, or did accept that, because there was such a thing as collective bargaining and so on. But this game of having a handful of people speak for the Indians, the first harm it does is to the Indians. It must silence them. And they have been silenced for a long time. I can't really recall exactly how it started, but what date. But it was decided that residential schools were on trial, and that meant the Oblates were on trial. The Oblates, which is a religious organization that evangelized Canada more than any other group, and it did it in most extreme and courageous ways. So the Oblates now were going to be not on trial, because there would be no trial. The Oblates weren't going to court. There was going to be no court. They were guilty at the beginning, and they stayed guilty, and they were told they had to be guilty, and then were told they had to cough up $25 million. They haven't yet found it. And let me tell you, when someone tells you with your two hands are tied behind your back, that you have to cough up 25 million because it was already decided before the program began that you were guilty, you don't pay. And I can't tell you, because there are books about it, of how the great missionary Oblates, it's one of the most golden story in the whole history of Christianity, is what the Oblates endured and suffered and accomplished. And they are being treated for the last few years as the most vile, evil people who don't deserve a say, who don't deserve a hearing, who don't deserve anything remotely called justice. There has never been a prime minister who's so fond of the word justice as Pierre Trudeau and as Justin Trudeau. Yet they violated every concept of parliamentary procedure, of democracy, and of courts. For them, there's no justice in the court system. There's no justice in the parliamentary system. There still isn't. People often say, and I've said it, being concerned that Canada is turning communistic. I don't think for one moment the people turned communistic any more than the people of the Soviet Union turned communistic. But we indeed have gone through a period of tyranny, totalitarianism, injustice, cruelty, and above all, lying. What happened here about I don't know how it was started. Now it's called the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. The Oblates were told that they could not defend themselves. The Oblates were told that they could not have a proper court procedure. The Oblates were told that whoever is saying things against you those people are absolutely 100% truthful, but you are not. I am amazed at the number of Native people who stood firm to the truth and refused huge payments because they knew it was wrong, who refused to go against the Oblates because they knew they were unfairly treated. There's many people who got a settlement and then handed it over to the Oblates. There are many people who spoke out and were threatened physically and otherwise, and said that this is not true residential school was a good thing. In my case, gave testimony. They were threatened, they were denied access, and this is the base. And now we hear over and over again people trying to still 10, 20 years ago trying to tell the truth.
Yes, one thing that's lost in the shuffle is that people, there were many apologies made. There were full apologies. They were accepted by the people heading up the Aboriginal people in Canada, and this happened, and it happened several times. And there isn't. The one problem is there's not just a Catholic Church in Canada. It's not just one entity. It's all kinds of dioceses. They don't have one body. So that you say, well, the Catholic Church in Canada must do this. It doesn't exist as such. It's in different bodies. Another thing is when they agreed, the Oblates did apologize at length, and not only that, there was $25 million raised, and there was another $25 million in services, and then there was an attempt to raise another $25 million by donations that they tried to make, and they hired a company who spent $2 million trying to raise this money, but they only got about $4 million of the 25, and people just didn't trust the government with this money because they just didn't trust what was going on, and so they refused to give because they know that the government is playing games. And this is what happened before all this recent stuff happened.
Okay, now let's talk about, there was all these claims that this happened and this happened and this happened, and there were claims against people who could not speak for themselves because they had been dead for years, and there were claims for people who never went to residential school, and this was millions of dollars was claimed on the names of people who never went to residential school. And then when the checks were made out and they got the money and so on, they couldn't find the people. Why? Because these were fraudulent claims made up by people such as Federation of Sask Indians, who created these people, and they were either dead or inaccessible or never existed at all. Then what happened to this money? Millions of dollars was unclaimed, and now they're still telling, oh, we owe the money, or the Oblates owe the money. Nobody owes the money of people who play fraudulent games of making claims on behalf of people who don't even exist, may never have existed, and or are dead. We know of people who got huge settlements, more money than they've ever had in their life, and they never went to residential school for 1 minute. Why did this happen? It's because Justin Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau, the Liberals, and the Federation of Sask Indians created a fraudulent fund. They said, well, we'll use it for education. And so would give us all this money that was left on the table. The natives in Canada get free education from preschool, if so, they so desire, to university, if they so desire. They get it all. They get residentials, they get living allowances, they get all the expenses that if they so desire, to go to university or to law school, or well, that's in university, but and So why would they pick up all this money that's unclaimed and say we'll use it for education? That, my friends, is fraudulent, is thievery, is dishonest, whatever other words you want. And this is the situation. In addition, we have the Oblates who have been maligned, who have been lied to and lied about, and are still being accused of the most heinous crimes when they have never even got near a court case, never ever really got any way they could defend themselves. This is the injustice. Yes, there's always things that aren't quite right in life, but this is massive injustice to the Oblates of Canada. I could go on and on and on about how wonderful the history of the Oblates are. But that's not the issue right now. The issue is the Canadian public has been once again ripped off, and a select group of people have been lied about and lied to. If there is ever a person or a group of people who deserve an apology, it is the Oblates. But I don't think they need apology. I think they need the Federation of Sask Indian Nations and all the other conglomerates who have joined in to harass them, to go to court and make it and pay up. The Oblates don't have to give any money. When someone steals from you, maligns you, and so on, and does it by gunpoint, you don't have to give the money. And that's the situation. And the only thing that distresses me is that Oblates did not only didn't have a fair fight, they didn't have a fight at all. And maybe that's because they're priests, not lawyers. But there are injustices, and the Oblates have suffered greatly over being, and someday they will be found to be the heroes and the sacrificial people that they really were. So
that's our program, and thank you. And we hope that you listen to it and pass it on, and God bless you all.